Welcome back, Local Liberty viewers. Today we are continuing our community chat segment. Today we have Jonathon Wadsworth from Windham. I met Jonathon online on a local Willimantic forum, Willimantic Butthurt Uncensored. He was talking about some local issues in town. I'm trying to start this segment to give people a platform to talk about things that they think are important to them, that are in the area. So today we have Jonathon with us. Thank you for joining us, Jonathon. So what were you talking about online? What are these problems that you think are occurring in Willimantic, occurring in the William area, in the Eastern Connecticut region in general?
Well, you know, I lived away from Willimantic for quite a long time, and you know, being on the Willimantic Uncensored page, you know, I heard a lot of people complaining about how taxes are too high and there's no business in Willimantic, that Main Street's empty. And, you know, some of these people were people that are in a position to help. And like we discussed earlier, if you ask them about it, they don't want to talk. You know, they don't want to give a reason why they're not helping.
Right.
You know, and I just think that there are a lot of really good people here in Willimantic. They're doing a lot of good things. But some of the things that really need to be done to make Willimantic better aren't getting done.
So when you say people are doing a lot of really good things, you know, you're talking about things like the soup kitchen, no free shelter, other people in town helping to make the town prettier, etc. But what is the issue you think is not being addressed?
Well, one of them, I think, is our schools. I think that our test scores, you know, our statewide test scores are way too low.
We're one of the worst in the district, I believe, in Windham, specifically in the public school system.
We are last.
Last.
Yeah. I think like it was 128th out of 128.
Wow.
You know, last I saw. And I'm actually going to go to the Board of Education meeting tomorrow night. Will be my first one since I moved back here, and you know, and listen and see what's going on. You know, I think that a lot of the reason that things don't get done is because people don't know what needs to be done. You know, they're not informed.
I agree with you completely. They're not informed. If you go to those local meetings, the other day when I was at the various polling sites and people were voting, you know what I didn't see? I didn't see a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right. If I go to a local town meeting, which I would like to cover some of these town meetings, but school gets in the way, but I know because I've been some of them in the past, you know what I'm going to see? A couple people, a few people, a handful of people, the same people over and over again, and that's really disappointing. And if you want people to be involved in government, they need to know something about it, but how do they know something about it if they never participate?
Well, that's one of the ways that I think that I could help a little bit myself is by going to these meetings, because I do have time, and learning what's going on and informing people, whether it, you know, be through social media or just conversations with people that I run into every day, whatever it takes. You know, like I told you before, I'm not a politician. I have no political experience, but I love Willimantic. You know, I grew up here. I went to high school here. When I grew up here, this town was much different than it is today. You know, everybody knew everybody, everybody took care of everybody, and it was just different. And I don't see much of that anymore. I mean, like I said, there are some really good people in this town. I mean, I know of one particular businessman in town who does tons of charity work. I mean, he raises thousands and thousands of dollars a year, you know, for different causes. And I think that's a good thing, you know.
People that are in a position to do something you think should do something.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So you don't want to just be the person that's on, you know, some Facebook page just complaining, just bitching about the problems. You're like, you know what, let me go just a little farther than that. I know you've done some volunteer work at the soup kitchen, now you're interested in getting involved in politics. Like, I like to see that from people because it's more than just, oh, I'm angry and I just want to complain about something. Yeah. It's just taking it a little further. And for some people, they can't take it. They're in a certain situation. It's hard for them. But it's annoying when you see people that have, you know, a lot of money or influence or power, and then they just complain and then do nothing.
Yeah, and like I said, then there's other people that give me hope, you know, that it can be turned around here. You know, I talk to other people on social media that are from the area, you know, people that own businesses, and, you know, I talk to them about what, you know, they think needs to happen. And, you know, one of the things I've been hearing a lot about is we don't have businesses that employ a significant amount of people. You know, we lost a lot over the last 25, 30 years here in town, you know.
I mean, the loss of the mills at 85 was huge, a massive impact on the local economy because we were a mill town.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we have the mill museum in town to teach us about our history. And when the factory jobs went, we went to recession. It took a long time to recover. There are some larger businesses like a Walmart or something that employ people, but still, it's not like it used to be at all.
Yeah. And you know, Brand Rex going down was a big hit. And you know, I had family that worked at Brand Rex, you know, right up until they closed, and you know, it hurt a lot of people. And like I said, I'm just new to all of this stuff, and I really don't know how to make that kind of stuff happen yet.
What do you think about Main Street? To me, you know, because I also grew up in this town. I went to school here. To me, the current Main Street is actually better than it was, you know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago when I was in school. Like, there's more local businesses, from like that cupcake shop to Jamaican Me Crazy. You know, seems to be a little bit more activity than there was a few years ago in terms of very small business. Like you said, they don't employ that many people, but they can bring people into the town. Just it's something to see. You know, have a Main Street that actually is worth going to. Like, we have Third Thursday now. And it's like people actually come for Third Thursday because there's enough people that are businesses and people that are involved that makes it interesting. It's worthwhile to go.
I've never yet to be to a Third Thursday, but I can't wait.
Oh, you gotta go to a Third Thursday. They're actually pretty fun, and people dress up. All the local businesses support Third Thursday. It's actually one of the few times I remember when they first started it. Me thinking, really, our town's gonna have a third, like that kind of community festival. It didn't seem like it would fit our town. Like, yeah, right. There's gonna be all kinds of ridiculous problems. And no, the organizers, they pulled it off. I mean, if anyone's been to Third Thursday, it's a good time. People generally get along with each other. You know, we get a very diverse group of people because a lot of times with a lot of local events, you get people from different communities in the community. Like, you know, where I'm at a lot, the Mill Museum, you get a certain kind of person from a certain socioeconomic background, a certain age group. But the Third Thursday, everyone in town comes together. So that's great for community.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. I recently, just in the last week and a half or so, I went into 2 local businesses on Main Street that were thriving. I mean, we took my girlfriend's son to get a haircut at, I believe it's called J&S Styles, and they had like 8 barbers in there all working at once, and the whole place was full of people waiting to get their haircut.
I'm actually pretty stunned by it. There's a number of barber shops, and a lot of them are on Main Street. It's kind of weird, but I walk by them, and there's people want to get their hair cut. You're satisfying a need.
And all of the guys that were working in there were young, 20-something-year-old guys, working hard, you know, and running a good, solid business, you know. And then Thread City Diner, I went in there 2 Sundays ago for breakfast with my girlfriend and some of her nieces and nephews and her son, and that place was packed.
I love that place, actually. I've been there many times for breakfast.
Yeah.
It's a nice, you know, mom and pop kind of atmosphere, but it's like you said, it's packed. At least whenever I've gone there for breakfast.
You know, and I couldn't even finish the plate that I got. I mean, there was so much food, I had to take it home.
Right.
You know, and I mean, we used to have a place like that here in Willimantic years ago. You know, it was Bill's Number 7. Then it changed over to Gill's. And that place ran for years. I mean, it would open like right when the bar rooms would close, and he would stay open until like 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And, you know, they did good, but it just got to the point where they couldn't afford the rent and, you know, everything else that was going on, and they had to close. But this place here, I see a good future for them as long as they keep doing the same thing they're doing.
They've been around for years now, and to me they're like a surprise hit. And then across the street they have Cafe Mantic, another thing that's like a surprise hit because it seems I've only been there a couple times, but it seems like it's a little upscale. I'm a little surprised by that, but it's doing great. And we are a college town though too, so
Yeah.
it seems to cater to a lot of those people. That's something you forget. Another major employer in town is Eastern Connecticut State University, and they're constantly expanding. They're building this new center for the performing arts, and like a third of the building is glass. I mean, it's really cool. A lot of people are getting paid to make that, So that's jobs right there in education, and there's the retail jobs like Walmart or some Home Depot, some of those places. But they're the manufacturing jobs. To you, does it matter what the jobs are? Because I hear a lot of people saying, well, we need manufacturing jobs. People complain about the loss of industry in America, nationwide. Does it matter that it's that loss if it's replaced with something else? Like it's whether you're working at a college or you're working at a Walmart, you're working at these other kind of jobs.
No, I really don't think it matters what kind of businesses come in. As long as they can employ people that need the jobs. I don't know. I really don't know what would be a good business to come in here. Like who would we cater to, or how do we go about making them want to come here? That's
Right.
the thing. And I need to educate myself.
Do you have any ideas like why you think they would not want to come here, a business?
I think a lot of it has to do with the people that complain about Willimantic's reputation.
Yeah.
And I think it's a sad thing.
Yes.
I do.
Do you think that contributes? Because you said you love Willimantic. A lot of people love Willimantic. But when I go to a number of the local Facebook groups, I see some people like you that are like, yeah, I live here, I like it, it's got some problems, no big deal. But then I see other people that they lead with, oh, this town's a mess. This town has full of a bunch of druggies. This town is just dying. They don't lead with, well, I like the town. They lead with the town is bad, right? That's their first message. And then they say some other things about it, right? And people complained a lot when we had the 60 Minutes come in. They just this whole expose on us, this heroin town,
Yes,
this
I
label.
remember
People did not like this. If you label something a certain way, people start to think about it that way. So do you think there's more positivity about the town saying, you know what, we've had these problems, but we're not going to be defined by these problems. Let's look at other things, we're going to make things better. Just from like an advertising perspective.
For one thing I can say, I know for sure, is Willimantic may, have its problems, but it's nothing like when that 60-minute segment was run. I mean, the police station and statewide narcotics task force did a lot to clean up a lot of that. I don't, you don't see hookers walking down, by the thread.
Well, they move. That. I mean, all those issues are still there in the community. They all exist. They just are less visible. For example, like the prostitution. I see prostitutes all the time. They come to the soup kitchen, and I talk to them. I talk to a lot of people that are having disparate times. They're just out of the way. For example, Tent City. This was a big issue. They were bound by Bridge Street Plaza. They were in the woods. They got rid of them all. Where did they go? Well, now they decided they're all on the outskirts of Willimantic. They're just outside Willimantic's boundaries. People are living in tents. Now it's spread out.
Yeah.
So it's less visible of a problem, but the problem still exists. So that kind of bothers me when people say the problem went away. The problem didn't go away. It's just the people got moved around. So decent folks might not have to watch them. And some of the other problems were addressed, like homelessness. Now they have the no free shelter, so it's not just random people, sleeping, here, there, everywhere. It's like, well, now there's a safe place, it's monitored. People aren't getting, robbed and stabbed and all their stuff stolen from their tent at night. So they made improvements, which is done by a lot of times by volunteers. People actually trying to make a change in the community. It's like, you know what? I'll just try doing it myself. I'll try to do something to help.
And the no free shelter, I think, is a good thing. I mean, every town at our size or larger has homeless shelters.
Right.
To protect these people from freezing to death in the winter.
Technically, we're a city. I mean, right? We have 23,000 people in Willimantic, so it's inevitable.
You look at New London. New London's got 3 shelters, and their soup kitchen down there serves about 3 times as many as ours does, and then it's just it's not just our city,
Right. Some people that may be just from Willimantic, maybe they go to some of the surrounding country towns like Chaplin and Scotland. They look at those towns like, well, these towns don't seem to have the same kind of problems, but they're so much smaller. So it's just it's a different thing. As soon as you get to a city lifestyle, urban lifestyle, this is how it's been throughout history. There's always been going to be poor people, people that are worse off. Some people that they made a mistake in their life, something stupid, and they can either just ignore those people, or you can try to do something to help solve some of their problems, and they can come back to being contributing members of society, and help everyone else out.
Back in the 80s, they had what was called town assistants. It wasn't all coming from the state. And they had a program called Workfare. And they would send, people that were on town assistance that were capable of working a certain amount of hours a week they sent them to us. When I worked for the school system, we had like 3 guys that came every week and worked like 15 to 20 hours a week. And when these guys first came in there, they were down and out. I mean, they had no self-respect, no anything. And by them being able to do that, 2 out of those 3 guys turned around, and they ended up actually going back into the workforce and, making something for themselves after that. And that was a good thing. And I don't know why that the state, our state in particular, doesn't require that, from people who are able to work a certain amount of hours. I think it's really complicated. I think like deciding who is able to work and who's not is hard, to come up with a criteria for that. And I think the other thing that may be holding it back is current insurance regulations, things that are allowed, because I don't believe that they would allow those kind of, that situation to happen again where they could go to the school system and work off their hours, or to the
Right.
public works department and work off their hours. I think a lot of that might have to do with insurance.
You can also, there was a recent post on Willie Uncensored where there's this woman who designed a coat that turns into a sleeping bag. So it was for a college project, and a homeless person came up to her and said, well, what we really need is jobs. And then later on in life, a few years later, she's still in her mid-20s, I think, she started a business making these coats that are sleeping bags, and the only people she employs are homeless people. And they talk to those homeless people, who many of them aren't homeless anymore, right?
Yeah.
She gave me a chance, right, which is risky, right?
Yeah.
Some random person, just here, give a chance. You might just have wasted, a week of me training you because you're an idiot. Who knows, right? But she gives people a chance, and many of them turn their life around. They said, I was homeless a year ago, now I have a place, I'm raising my kids, all these positive things. And again, they're just by people saying, hey, I want to try to help. So we're nearing the end of this segment. But what message do you want to give to your local Willimantic townsfolk?
I just like to see people have a more positive attitude, and if you're able to help. I myself, I volunteer at the soup kitchen 3 days a week. It's good for me. I have time on my hands other than my school courses. So I go down there and I work 5 hours a day, 3 days a week, and it makes me feel good. It helps out some people, and it's a good thing. And I know you see the trash mob. They do, wonderful work.
Right. Every week they go out and they pick a spot. There's different groups that are taking care of, different issues. So you like to see more of that. Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure for you being on Local Liberty. I want to tell everyone else out there in the community that, I'm trying to keep this segment rolling. I'm going to maybe try to interview, people I know in school, other local politicians. As long as you're from the area and you have a voice and you're not afraid to be on camera, of course, you could be on this segment. You don't actually even have to come to my studio. I can go out somewhere else now. I got the equipment to do it. A recent video we just did with Jason Charette, a political scientist, I shot right at school. So stay tuned, Local Liberty folks. Check us out on YouTube channel. Check us out wherever you are. And thank you and have a nice day.